Welcome, everybody, to the very first in-person edition.
The fully vaccinated edition.
Of the OA News Overtime. I'm Jordan Hill. We got Justin Lee. Justin.
We're here.
We're back in person.
In person, live. We're doing it live.
I don't know if we're exactly doing it live. But,
no, we're not.
But we are here to talk Auburn University sports. Justin, just what's it been like for you this week? Things you've been working on and getting through another week, another busy week of spring practice.
You ain't lying, it's busy. Spring practice is closing up Thursday, tomorrow. So we're recording on Wednesday, tomorrow. We've got Unique Thompson going in the draft probably. We'll talk about that a little bit. And then equestrians on the road at the national championship on top of baseball, softball, and everything else. Everything's going on, Jordan.
I know, it's been a busy week, and with us not only doing AU sports, we also got high school sports, baseball, softball. They're getting into sort of the nitty-gritty. But let's start with AU football. I know that's the big topic. When we're talking now, we're just a few days away from A-Day. Still a lot moving along, a lot of things changing, and a lot of moving pieces. And I want to start with one of the big, literally, moving pieces with AU football. JJ Pegues is moving from tight end. The rising sophomore is going to defensive tackle. Justin, initial thoughts on Pegues moving positions and what he might be able to bring to the defensive line?
Dude, I don't know, man. I mean, that was the story of the day, right? Or the story of the week. Obviously, you say, well, it makes sense because he's really big. Everyone kind of talks about the big, maybe the idea, the fun red zone touchdown plays that he could have done. I think about those blocks, man. Some of those pull blocks, I don't know what you call them, pull around blocks where you grab a defensive end that the tackle left out. Those were highlight reel plays, and that wasn't just a practice. I remember one at Ole Miss last year. He could spring some runners, so I'll be interested to see how much, where maybe he'll play a little bit more offense. Maybe he'll still have a few packages, but again, it was. I tweeted it though. It's like, when Brian Harsin comes in, it's like, we want old school football. The fans were like, we want to focus on the lines. And it's like, we want to focus on the lines. And then, not like this.
I didn't want it like that.
That's also what I was talking about. So, yeah. I don't know. We'll see. Obviously, he's extremely talented. So, we'll see how he can do there. But, yeah, not every day you see a position move. I think it was Auburn Elvis on Twitter. It was like, it hurts when we lose a commit or a recruit. We lose a transfer, but I've never had this kind of mixed feelings transferring to the defense.
Yeah, the thing that I think a lot of fans had sort of the same thought that I did. I put up a poll just on Twitter, a very scientific poll.
There you go.
That just asked what fans thought, and for the most part, the sentiment was, we want to wait and see what it looks like. But for me, seeing that decision, I think it makes a lot of sense, and I think we all were kind of getting the hint that this might be coming, because when we talked to Brian Harsin after one of the Saturday practices, I brought up JJ Pegues because I think a few days before that he had laid out Zakoby McClain. And I was trying to kind of talk more about what he could bring to the tight end position, and Coach Harsin sort of volunteered, well, he can help us in all three phases. And when you say, the tight end can help in all three phases, and even before that, Mike Bobo, the new offensive coordinator, when he was sort of describing JJ, he was like, that sort of short burst athleticism, you usually see that for a defensive lineman. You don't see that as much at a tight end. You see a guy that you go, hey, he could play tight end, but it's because he's actually playing defensive line.
Right.
I like the decision. The decision might not have been one we saw in the first place had Jeremiah Wright not gotten hurt. But you see the depth really being an issue. And there are some other guys that, like a Marquise Burks that could have stepped up there and played there. But I think the combination of losing Jeremiah Wright and knowing that JJ has that sort of athleticism, why not try it? That's the thing. You go through spring, and this could continue into the summer, and they may decide, this doesn't have to be permanent. Why don't we move him somewhere else? So I like the decision. There's really no risk. You can see if he works there, and they've got other talented tight ends, Tyler Fromm, Brandon Frazier, some of those guys, Luke Dill as well. So I don't think there's much risk in trying him there, and he may wind up being a very productive guy. And we got a chance to talk to JJ on Monday, and he brought up the fact that this could help him get to the NFL, and I think that makes a lot of sense.
That's a good point.
I think that makes a lot of sense from his standpoint.
Yeah. All right, Jordan. If you could move someone on Auburn football to a different position, who would you move? What would you do? I've got my answer.
Go ahead and give yours.
All right. I would So obviously he's a great quarterback. He's the quarterback. Bo's the quarterback. Get over it. But if Bo had to like move to receiver, he'd be a strong receiver. I think. Like he'd be, like as a slot guy. Like, dude, he's shifty, man. Like he doesn't get enough credit for his athleticism. I bet he could kind of show off his athleticism a little bit if he had to move. You know what I mean? I'm thinking of some high school guys who played quarterback and had to play a little receiver. I bet he could, dude. I bet he could if he had to.
For me, the storyline one is Kalen Newton. Let's move him back to quarterback.
Oh my gosh!
Could you imagine the amount of stories? I think besides that, I think I'd like to see like Owen Papo carry the ball. I feel like he could be a hard runner. He's not going to be a Tank Bigsby, but like him or just a Kobe. I think they'd be fun to watch on offense because they're just going to lower their shoulder, man.
Dude, he'd run somebody over. I'm playing with a baseball. I should play with the football. This is our beautiful set made by Intern Thomas. Intern Thomas, shout out.
Thomas Lester with the win.
All right, what's next, Jordan?
Yeah, well, we'll go on and stay with A-Day. We got A-Day coming up on Saturday. Justin, you'll be there. Yep. I want to point out, I'm going to be at a wedding, and I want to point out, though, that I'm going to the wedding of an Auburn fan. It's an Auburn fan who, look, he to be fair, they were supposed to get married last year, and then the pandemic happened.
Sure.
But an Auburn fan wound up scheduled on the only weekend that mattered. But so I'll be at the wedding. Justin will be at A-Day. What are the things you want to look at? What do you want to take away from this A-Day game? What do you want to see that you think Auburn fans, if they see this, kind of can have a collective sigh of relief going into the summer?
Going back to Bo Nix. Who does Bo Nix look to? Who is he throwing it to first? You know what I mean? Who is his eye naturally drawn to when he's throwing? We're not going to get that many plays, that many relevant passing plays, that many progression, passing plays. You can only glean what you can glean from an A-Day game. But in that small sample size, what are we going to learn about the wide receivers? Can we learn anything about the wide receivers? That's the thing for me is the wide receivers. I think I've talked about it before. It's just like, like D-line and stuff, we're all very interested. But, those wide receivers, they only have so many targets, like only a little bit. So you got to prove yourself now. Because you only got so much time now and you only got so much time in the fall. So prove yourself now, right?
Yeah, we hit on the fact that Kobe Hudson, who's a rising sophomore, is the most experienced receiver. So that's a lot to kind of get figured out. And, we had a chance to talk to Javarius Johnson, who's really impressed, probably been the guy that's impressed the most this spring as far as the receivers. And he talked a little bit about building that relationship with Bo, and that's something we talked about on a past episode. That's going to be important. Who are going to be the guys he's throwing to on 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9?
Right, because it was Seth, and Seth is gone.
Seth has moved on, and they've lost the other two top receivers in Anthony Schwartz and Eli Stope. They've got to get those guys figured out. So I think receiver is definitely a spot they need to get figured out. Besides that, for me, I look at defensive line kind of along the same lines we've just been talking about. They're still kind of plugging and playing guys. And I was really interested a few weeks ago when we talked to Nick Eason, the defensive line coach. He said, that we've moved guys around on the first team. We don't want anybody getting complacent. And also we want to see different combinations. Who works better where and with who around them. So I'll be interested to see what that sort of looks like. And then the other part for me is the secondary. And I think it's because it's an area of a lot of surplus talent.
Bountiful talent.
But where do you put it? Who do you put where?
Right.
So we've seen them move some guys around. Nehemiah Pritchett, I think, has been working at Nickelback, if I'm remembering correctly. They've got guys. They just got to figure out where to plug and put them. So I'll be interested to see what that looks like at A-Day and how that all kind of leads to the summer and what we're able to do.
Bountiful talent. What's up? What's next, Jordan?
Looking ahead, going from AU football to AU basketball, AU men's basketball, a big pickup earlier this week.
Moving to basketball.
5-star forward.
We have to use our props.
Yes, 5-star center Walker Kessler is going from North Carolina to Auburn. What were your initial thoughts when you saw that, and what do you think he'll be able to bring to the men's basketball team?
Something we haven't really talked about it in this way, but
No.
Okay. It's something that we haven't seen in Auburn basketball before. You know what I mean? Like, he's a different player than I think's ever come through here, and obviously it hasn't really settled in yet. You know what I mean? Like, maybe once he signs, we can kind of go into these comparisons and things. But he's a center that is different from anybody, and we're talking about. You're talking about a McDonald's All-American, and so what? Auburn has 5 all-time, and Bruce has signed 3 of them in the last 2 years. The lion's share, the Tigers' share.
There you go.
Of both of McDonald's All-Americans in the last 2 years. Jabari, Sharif, and now him. That's crazy. So yeah, I don't know, man. It's almost like you don't want to blow up the hype because he had a freshman year at UNC where he played behind some bigger guys, and it's not like he was All-American in college, but he's a McDonald's All-American in high school, and I mean we're gonna see what he can do. But yeah, I think it's pretty huge, and I think the conversation about him and the hype about him is only kind of starting because when we kind of put our glasses on and look at it here in a little bit, in the summer and before the season starts, I think we're gonna, kind of just think about how he is a different kind of player that Auburn has ever had, which is, I don't know, crazy.
Yeah, I'll be interested. He had limited action, but the minutes that he played at North Carolina, he was really productive and had a good bit of steals for a guy that's 7'1". That's probably the thing that impressed me.
Most of his highlights are like half court pick sixes.
And the thing that I have really been drawn to, kind of reading about him and learning more about him, you just kind of see how Bruce Pearl has remade this roster. I mean, I'll be honest and say going into this offseason, I expected them to probably add a couple transfers. But, pulling in guys like Walker Kessler and then Wendell Green from Eastern Kentucky,
right.
I mean, they've really done, I think, a pretty good job of sort of rebuilding, restocking.
Oh, for sure.
And you look at a guy like Kessler, obviously his best basketball is in front of him. And from what I've read, I think that Auburn was in the mix when he was coming out of high school, Woodward Academy there in Atlanta. So now he gets a chance to come play at Auburn. And I got to say, look, I went to Georgia, so this is also kind of a loss for Georgia because he's a Georgia legacy. His dad played at Georgia. His uncle was a really good player at Georgia. His older brother played at Georgia. He's going to Auburn instead, so I'm sure that's a little cherry on top for Auburn fans that, but I think he's going to be a really productive player. I'm really interested to see, we're still waiting to see him if like a JT Thor winds up coming back, but what this lineup's going to look like, man, because, there's so much talent, and we were sort of talking about this off camera and before we started recording the podcast.
Yeah.
It's just going to be a matter of figuring out the minutes and figuring out the lineups that work out the best, but there's plenty of talent.
Right. I mean, the roster's pretty set right now. You can win some games with the roster they have right now, right? You know what I mean? Even if you don't add anybody. So, but they're apparently still out there trying to add people, so we'll see what happens.
That's the thing. I mean, JT Thor still has time to figure out if he's going to stay in the draft, but as it stands right now, Auburn has about 2 scholarships that they can still use and fill out.
So it's 1 if Thor comes back, 2 if Thor leaves.
Correct. So you've got talent. I mean, I've had people asking. Got another North Carolina guy, Garrison Brooks, as a forward. Is that somebody? He played at Auburn High, for anyone who doesn't know about Garrison. Really talented player, and he's a veteran guy.
Right.
Could that be somebody that's in the mix?
Yeah, I mean, oh man, that'd be fun. But it just depends on. I mean, it's kind of what's weird is that so you kind of want somebody, you kind of want like a grad transfer because you kind of want to turn this roster over because you're signing McDonald's All-Americans. It's like you don't need to come here and hang out for too long, right? But at the same time, no grad transfer wants to come and sit on the bench. And that includes Garrison, so you know what I mean. So it's I mean I don't know. I'm kind of interested in. Honesty Scott Grayson's brother left UAB, and I was like that'd be fun. Get Honesty and her brother both at Auburn, but again that's another grad transfer who we don't know their situation. We don't know if they might not want to come to a roster that is already has 9 really good players and a coach who openly says he wants to play 9 players in a rotation. So we'll see how it goes. It's hard to. I don't think any of us really know the inner machinations of who else they're trying to bring in. Well, nobody knows. Nobody, and it doesn't matter who you ask. Nobody knows. So we'll see.
Well, we'll go on because inner machinations, that's too big of a word for me. I can't hang in a conversation like that. Well, let's talk a little Auburn equestrian. It's sort of.
We don't have a horse prop.
I know, that's the sad thing.
Thomas.
Yeah, I know.
Can we get like a horse on a broom, a horse head on a broomstick?
That's for the next episode.
We got a poster.
We do have a
poster. Okay.
They're getting ready for NCEA, basically the national meet.
Right.
I think it's pretty safe to say Auburn's seen as one of the favorites. Just fill us in on what Auburn Equestrian has been able to do this year and how they can maybe cap this thing off.
Right. I mean, they're still number 1. They're still the best. And the thing is, what's interesting about them, and it's one of the things that I kind of talked about with gymnastics, before their Thomas shows a picture of a horse, so now we're in the mood. Here we go, Thomas, get the shot! Come on. All right, I'll hold this. Equestrian is a sport. No, I'm not going to. No, what's crazy is that they're the number one team. They were the uncrowned national champions last year, and then so of all the people for the pandemic to hurt, that's who it's got to hurt the most. I mean, among the most is someone who had a really good shot to win it all and to win a ring and didn't get to do it last spring, and so. That's all the motivation you need. That's all the storybook you could have, right? Is that you're number one, you didn't get to win last year, so you go back and you try to do it now. And the other storyline for me is, every year, maybe you're going to nationals for the first time, you go, oh, we got a whole bunch of freshmen who've never been before. Now you got a whole bunch of sophomores, freshmen and sophomores who have never experienced it. So in that way, and the rules change too. It switches from 5 riders to 4. So there is an actual difference, not just the pressure, which is also an actual difference. You know what I mean? There's a tangible difference.
Yeah.
That's among the intangible. So we'll see how they do. But yeah, that starts Thursday. And but yeah, I think that's a storybook as it could get, right? That's finally after the pandemic last year canceled everything. They can finally compete.
Can we say if there are people who doubt Auburn equestrian, would you call those like haysayers? I mean, like what would you call those guys?
No, they could be naysayers. Nay.
Yeah, there you go.
Nay. Okay.
Before we go to the baseball and softball diamond, I want to go back to basketball. This could be a big week for one of Auburn women's basketball's most talented players and one of the players that helped rewrite the history book. Unique Thompson's getting ready for the WNBA draft. Justin, I know you had a chance to talk to her a little bit leading up to this. What was sort of your takeaway from what she's getting ready for and what she's going to be bringing to the WNBA?
My main thing was I asked her at the very end, I was like, are you ready to move to the big city? Because I wasn't the first person to ask her. She said, I talked to her earlier this week. There's a story online. But because all these teams, LA, Las Vegas, New York. I mean, come on, she's from Theodore, which is the tiny town in Alabama. And
let's put some respect on the Lee County metropolitan area.
Yeah, okay. Sure. Yeah, all right. They call it the loveliest village. The loveliest metropolitan area on the plains.
Exactly.
But she's preparing. She's been told, and every mock, she's going to get drafted, and she's been told to expect it. It would be a shock if she didn't. The problem is, in the WNBA, there's only 12 teams. There's too much talent to go around, and getting drafted is one thing and making a roster is another. But for her, getting drafted is a dream come true. She's excited for it. They're gonna watch it. They're gonna have a draft party at Auburn at the football recruiting room. They're gonna open it up for her. So she's basically been preparing. She's been preparing with Coach Fred, who's on the old staff under Terry Williams Flournoy. Coach Flo, he's much easier to say. But she had done it all. She played in the WNBA for 7 years, so she's got somebody that's guided her. I asked her if she had talked to Dewana yet, and she said no, but she was going to reach out. But obviously Dewana, the Connecticut Sun posted a tweet that she was overseas, somewhere getting third place, and that's the other thing. And Unique also, I asked her, hey, do you plan on a lot of these women's players play WNBA part of the year and overseas part of the year? And she wants to pursue that ultimately too, but obviously right now she's just focused on the draft and the WNBA. So that's where she's at, and the draft is Thursday at 6:00. So we'll see where she gets picked up.
No doubt, and I think Auburn fans will be interested, and I think that Unique is set to do really big things. I'm excited as someone who's seen her, what she's been able to accomplish at Auburn. It'll be fun to see how that kind of works out for her. Going on to starting with Auburn baseball, coming up with a big series. Pick up the baseball there, Justin. Getting ready to play Alabama. Auburn baseball still trying to sort of figure things out. They're coming off of a tough sweep, getting swept, I should say, against number 4 Mississippi State. Gave up 32 runs in 3 games. I mean, that sort of explains the situation for Auburn baseball right now. The pitching has been a real issue. Kind of a disappointment in the second game of the series. Jack Owen, who has been battling, had a finger injury to start the year and was limited, wound up pitching in Game 2 against Mississippi State. only threw 3.2 innings, gave up 9 hits, 6 earned runs.
These stats.
I mean,
gotta go.
I know.
Oh, man.
But it's been such a disappointing start to the baseball season for Auburn. There was a lot of high expectations. Again, the SEC is very tough when it comes to college baseball. But they're playing from behind. Right now they only have one conference win, and it was against Arkansas.
Right.
And again, that was a good Arkansas team, but there was an Arkansas team that booted the ball around a little bit in that game and nearly came back. So this is a big series on the road against Alabama. But Justin, what are your thoughts? How big is it to go play an Alabama team who right now might be playing their best baseball? They swept Texas A&M last week and got another in-week victory against Samford.
Right.
How important will it be for Auburn to go to Tuscaloosa and come out with at least a win or two?
Well, I keep trying to remember that most of the conference schedule is still ahead of them. They haven't hit the halfway point yet, right? And all the ranked teams are behind them. I mean, they played, so 3 of their first 4 series are like top 4 teams. I mean, Arkansas, Ole Miss, Mississippi State. Those are some killers. So, it's no wonder their record is the way it is. The trick is, you would almost. If you had you have a half hard schedule and a half easy schedule, you might want the easy schedule first so that the hard schedule doesn't break you and then you're broken for the whole second half, for lack of a better term. So we'll see how they've got to find their mental resiliency to make sure that they don't get caught up in all these losses. But hey, man, they got to win at Georgia Tech. I was there the last time. Man, that was
and hey, this time too, it was
Stephen
Williams with another home run.
You want an impression of me deleting my story that night when he hit a 2 out,
right?
2 out, bottom of the ninth, walk off 3-run home run to win in the regionals. And I'm over here. I've got my close but no cigar story all written and delete it. Lightning bolt. It was crazy. What a night, though. That was crazy.
And that set up for the road to Omaha.
It did. That was it. That was the first win, I think, on the road to Omaha.
I kind of want to.
They might have beat Coastal Carolina.
Something like that.
Go ahead.
I want to sort of make an analogy, like you talked about the fact that Auburn baseball has played so many tough teams. I think about it almost like high school football. When you see non-region games, you see a lot of the teams that consider themselves in the running to win championships are going to play the top teams, whether they're outside of the state, local. I think that could still be a benefit for Auburn, the fact that they have played some of the SEC's best teams already, but they got to take advantage of it. And it starts this weekend against Alabama. You have to win this series. I don't think it's a must-win in the fact that if you lose it, all hope is lost. But from a momentum standpoint, if you look at Alabama's hitting, their batters in all the different statistical categories are either in the middle or near the bottom of the SEC.
Right.
So I think it would be really big if Auburn is able to go to Tuscaloosa, at least win 2 games and kind of get a little momentum, which is what Butch Thompson talked about on Wednesday, to try to ride a little momentum off that Georgia Tech win and see if it can string together some more wins that get them moving up. Because he even pointed to Alabama. They started 2-7 in the SEC, then they sweep Texas A&M, and all of a sudden they're kind of climbing up. Well, let's see if Auburn can do the same thing.
Of course, it's Alabama, right?
Has to be.
Has to be.
Has to be.
Has to be. Yeah, we'll see, man. But yeah, that's a pretty pivotal road series, I'd say. But what a way to start your turnaround if you're gonna have one.
Absolutely. I mean, that's storybook if you're able to do it that way.
We're all about storybooks here on the Innings Overtime.
You are completely right, my friend. Let's go to Auburn Softball.
All right, let's do that.
They got
I can't reach it.
We have an Auburn High
Oh,
softball.
there we go.
So that's pretty fitting.
Okay.
Auburn University softball.
Yeah.
Got a big series win on the road against Texas A&M. 3-1 victory, I should say, over the Aggies. Wound up following that against Alabama State with a 5-0 win on Tuesday. They actually played Georgia State on Wednesday, so that'll be after we have recorded this. When I go to that last win against Texas A&M, 3-1 win. Shelby Lowe is now 10-3. She gave up a run in the bottom of the first of that Texas A&M game and didn't give up another run the rest of the game. So definitely a big win and a big series win against Texas A&M. Justin, what are your thoughts on how the softball team's coming together and where they're sort of stacking up, coming off of a big series win in the SEC?
There's kind of that parallel, right, with baseball. You gotta turn it around and get things turned around. But I mean, I keep remembering with them, right, is that they've got the equalizer, and that's the pitching. They've got Maddie and they've got Shelby. They can get to the postseason and throw those two, and they got a shot, right? They got to get the bats going. That's their task for the next month and a half or whatever until regionals, right? You've got to get those bats going. But also, this is where you may benefit from being in such a stacked league, is that, you can probably have a losing SEC record and still get into the regionals. You're going to get, fair well enough. You can punch your ticket, get into the regionals, and then just try to go as far as you can. And then, but I'm saying, once you get there and you can throw Maddie and Shelby against those people, they're going to give you a chance. But it's all about getting those bats going. So with baseball, I'm like watching the records and stuff. With softball, I'm not even watching the records. I'm like, man, y'all just gotta, you're watching how can they get those bats going in time for postseason. Obviously, they have to pick up some wins to get there, but it's all about bats for me right now.
And I think that it'll be another big test for Auburn softball. They play at home, so I mean, if you're hearing this and want to see the softball team, I think it's a pretty good series to not only go watch from the entertainment perspective, but also because it'll probably be a good test of where the softball team is. They're playing at home against number 12 Kentucky. So once again,
Yep.
I mean, we talk about baseball and softball, and it's pretty much interchangeable when you talk about talent, not only in the conference, but where that stacks up against the entire country.
Right.
So to play a team play a team at home like Kentucky, you'll probably learn a lot about this team and sort of their trajectory in as we get further along, getting closer and closer to the end of the regular season.
Right.
No
Yeah.
doubt.
No doubt.
It seems like a good way to close that out.
There's no doubt.
Want to switch back as we kind of wrap up this episode and talk a little more about A-Day because, it's very exciting for a lot of people because it's a new era.
This is the go-home spot.
A lot of different things going on. But more often than not, you don't get a whole lot out of a spring game, and that's across the board. That's not just Auburn.
Sure.
This is essentially a glorified practice,
Sure.
a glorified excuse to go to the football stadium, maybe hang out with some friends and watch the team get a practice in. Justin, what is the most meaningful thing you've ever taken from any spring game anywhere? The thing that comes to mind and the most meaningful thing that you've drawn from a spring game?
It's hard. I think about, remember the high school jamborees? I don't even think they do them anymore.
They do
Like,
sometimes.
Some people do them sometimes.
Sometimes.
But yeah, sometimes those are fun. But I don't know. I just think about Marshawn Lynch putting the helmet back on for Cal that time. That was ridiculous, and scoring a touchdown. That's the thing about spring games. You can do whatever you want. Like I remember when Michael Dyer transferred to Arkansas State to be with Gus. He played in the spring game. He wasn't going to be eligible for another year. And I don't know if it ever even happened, but he could play in the spring game. You can do whatever you want. So whatever. Get Dylan Cardwell out there. I don't care.
That would be quite the way to
have a good time, man. Yeah, do whatever you want.
Might as well. I mean, he might be able to help on the defensive line.
Yeah, dude, stretch Babatunde, tight end.
Why not?
Got to replace JJ, man.
I think that's the way you do it. For me, the two things I think about with spring games, I'll start when I was still in Columbus and came to an Auburn spring game. There was a receiver who just went off, and I was convinced this guy is going to be something special. This guy is ready to contribute in a big way. And that was Nate Craig Myers, who has since gone on to Colorado State and is now in, I think,
he's now with Gus.
I think he's working on his doctorate.
He must be.
He's been in college for a while, but he's now at UCF.
Get it, bro.
And to be fair, I think he's been banged up a little over the time. So maybe that's what's limited him from being the breakout guy I thought he would be.
Right.
To his credit, is still playing college football.
Yeah.
I think he might be working on his doctorate at this point. But now he's down in UCF. Didn't quite have the Auburn career that I thought coming out of that spring game.
Hey man, you ended up in Orlando.
It could be worse.
What's the weather there? Intern Thomas, look up the weather in Orlando, please. All right, go ahead.
It's sunny and
sunny and
sunny and
That sounds worse.
it's still probably going to be sunny and 75. And then the other thing I think about that Auburn fans will probably get a kick out of, Noshawn Moreno at Georgia. He redshirted as a freshman, and back then you couldn't play at all if you were redshirted.
Right.
And he comes into the spring game and looks like the next Herschel Walker, and everybody's like, "Whoa, what is it?" And this was a guy who's from New Jersey. You know, he wasn't someone that people who followed recruiting then really knew a ton about.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, I was like, "Wow, who is this guy?" And that was the beginning of seeing that Georgia had kind of wasted a year of Noshawn Moreno.
Right.
He winds up only playing 2 years and leaves as a redshirt sophomore.
Yeah.
So that was sort of like kind of a bitter taste in Georgia fans' mouths because I was like, whoa, where did this guy come from?
It is 84 degrees and sunny in Orlando right now. Man.
And Gus Malzahn is smiling.
Hey,
with
man.
a low of 66.
But yeah, so Georgia kind of wasted a year of
Yeah, that
Noshawn.
happened with Greg Robinson at Auburn. People were pretty mad at Gene Chizik about that, like leaving as a redshirt sophomore. Like, well, how did you redshirt this person who's top 5 pick?
Yeah,
Yeah,
went to the Rams and did all that good stuff.
Yeah.
But, so yeah, you know, few and far between is there a ton to get from 8A.
Sure.
Basically, you're looking for someone not to get hurt. I mean, that's basically the biggest thing.
For sure.
But we'll definitely take plenty out of what happens. And hey, I'll leave it to Justin, but I'll give a shout out to Clayton and Ashley. That's where I want to be. They're waiting on Saturday.
There we go.
The Auburn fan Clayton going to Georgia and meeting his wife.
Shout out to Clayton.
So it's a pretty good little end to the story there.
There you go.
Well, I think that's it.
We're
good. Justin, again, I appreciate the time, and for everybody that's listening, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you guys next week.